Commissioner Raquel Regalado representing County Commission District 7. I'm so sorry I couldn't join you all today, but I wanted to send this virtual message to welcome you all to this great event. You're actually with some of my favorite people. I'm out of town, but before I left, I recorded a few radio shows with Irela Baguette, and we were talking about the fertilizer ordinance. And I want to thank her for the great work that she's doing, specifically in Spanish language. We've done so much in the last few months at the County Commission, but there's still so much more that needs to be done in order to save and restore our bay. So thank you for paying attention to this very important issue. As many of you know, I'm fixated with septic to sewer, and we're working on changing the rules at the county so that we can make those conversions easier. But we have done a lot in terms of educating residents, and also the moratorium has been very important because as a county, we have really established that we do not want to continue adding septic tanks. So to talk to you more about how important water and sewer is, a little bit about our well program and how excited we are that we're educating people about our one water system, I would like to introduce our amazing Director of Water and Sewer, Roy Coley. Go ahead, Roy. I am Commissioner Raquel Regalado.
Good morning. My name's Roy Coley. I am Miami-Dade County's Director of Water and Sewer. I thank you for being here, and Dave, thank you for inviting me. I have some information that I'm really excited to share with you today. If we can get our presentation loaded. Okay, so we will see if I've got this ready to go. So today I want to talk to you about two subjects: connect to protect, which is what we're calling septic to sewer. So you will not hear our group refer to the conversion as septic to sewer going forward. Everything's connect to protect. I'm also going to give you a little bit of information of what we're doing today and going forward in overall wastewater infrastructure improvements. So where are septic tanks is what we want to talk about first. So if you look at this graphic, the graphic on your far left shows the location of all of the septic tanks in Miami-Dade County. If you look at the colors, the darker the blue, the higher the density of septic tanks. These are identified in a 1/10 of a mile square with the entire county in a grid. And the ones that have the highest density in that 1/10 of a mile is the darker blue, and the lowest density is the lightest blue. Then if you'll move to the graphic in the center, what you'll see is what we call compromised septic tanks. Now I'm going to define that a little bit for you going forward. Compromised septic tanks, you can see the darker blue is where the higher concentrations are. The lighter blue is where the lighter concentrations. And then if you'll see below that, as of 2020, there are 7,000 compromised septic tanks in Miami-Dade County. And by 2040, assuming the rate of sea level rise that most scientists are predicting, we expect to have 10,500 compromised septic tanks. When you move to the graph all the way to the right, you'll see failing septic tanks. Again, the colors are the same philosophy. The darker the color, the higher the concentration of failing septic tanks. The lighter the color, the lesser concentration. As of 2020, we have identified 2,000 failing septic tanks in Miami-Dade County, and by 2040, we expect that number to rise to 3,000. So here is a septic system as it should be, and I'm going to call your attention to a couple of important details that'll matter going forward. You see the house and the septic tank. You see the septic tank drain field, and the area below the drain field is the area I want to call your attention to. The filtration area, as you see it identified, and the soil absorption and purification, looking at that in relation to the water, the groundwater levels. So here is how we've determined what is failing and compromised and functioning, if you will. If you start all the way to the left, a failed septic tank is where that septic tank and its drain field is either submerged in water or partially submerged in water, which means it cannot do its intended job today. In the middle, you have compromised septic tank. And if you look at that area below the drain field to the level of the groundwater, you see that space is much reduced from what you saw in what a properly functioning on-site septic system should be doing. You do not have the space for the natural attenuation of the waste. And so therefore you are compromised. And as the sea level rise, it gets worse and worse. Then you move all the way to the right, and that's that original picture where you see the sufficient space you need of soil and media so a septic system can function as intended and do its job as we want it to do. So what are the benefits of connecting septic tanks to the sewer system? Jumped. So the first thing is, and I can share with you some stories in the county where we actually have people in this county that when it rains, they cannot use their indoor plumbing. Their showers don't work, their toilets don't work, their washing machines don't work. When the rain starts, they have to stop water use. So your number one benefit of connecting to the system is you end any potential sewer backups, damage to your home. You don't have wastewater in your yard. You don't have that health condition of having waste just laying in your yard because the system doesn't function. And so, those are your primary benefits. What you see in the graphic on the left is how a septic tank, when it's not functioning properly, how the nutrients from the tank enter the groundwater, which enters the nearshore waters in our bay, versus the picture where it's connected to the sewer system, and that doesn't happen. So how much does it cost to connect to the sanitary sewer system? So what you see here in this graph, we have two conditions in the county. One condition, if you'll notice, is where sewer infrastructure exists in your public right-of-way, and all you need to do is be able to get to it. Then the other condition is where there is no sewer infrastructure whatsoever, and that main pipes, pump stations, and all of the above has to be installed, and then for you to be able to get to it. So when you look at the cost, when we're in the scenario where sewer infrastructure exists currently, and the only thing that we need to do, if you look at the picture on the left, is install what we call a sewer lateral. A sewer lateral is simply a pipe going from the main in the street to your property line. That is going to cost $10,000 to $15,000, depending on conditions, to get that installed. And then the private property side, which is from the property line up until the house, is expected to cost between $5,000 and $10,000. So you're looking at $15,000 to $25,000 in the case where sewer infrastructure exists. Now, in the case where sewer infrastructure doesn't exist, you can see on the far right, it costs $40,000 to $45,000 per property to install the sewer infrastructure. Then you got the same $5,000 to $10,000 private property side expense for a total cost of $45,000 to $55,000 per property in the county. So what has been done so far, what I want to bring to your attention is over the past years, Miami-Dade County has done an amazing job assessing all of this information. All this information I'm sharing to you has been condensed from years of study and identifying all this information. So there has been an amazing accomplishment for our county to know this information. We know where our septic tanks are. We know what their conditions are. We know what we need to do. And that is primarily what has happened over the past few years. So here's what we're doing now. This is our execution path of getting these jobs done. You can see we're implementing expansions. We are now designing sewer infrastructure for those areas that we've identified that we need sewer infrastructure. We're designing it. We're installing it. Folks are going to work. So you can see how we're moving this forward now. We have $150 million in projects underway today. And so here's a timeline of what we're doing immediately going forward. As you can see, in January of this year, we broke ground on our first Connect to Protect project that was in the Little River Action Area. So we have broken ground. Construction is underway there right now. You can see in June of this year, we intend to break ground on the OGIS Special Benefit Area. which is another Connect to Protect project. We're going to have another section in Little River starting in March of 2023. Then you can see May of 23, a countywide lateral program that is part of that area that I spoke to you, where there is infrastructure in the street, but there's no laterals to connect to. We will be breaking ground on those in May. And then in July, commercial corridor projects for another 1,000 properties. So this is the benefits of the projects we have underway. As we all know, Biscayne Bay is health has in decline, and it's been identified that nutrients is a significant portion of the cause. The projects that I have laid out for you today, you can see will reduce the nutrients or nitrogen specific by 52,000 pounds a year from entering our water table and ultimately into our nearshore waters. So future phases of Connect to Protect, you can see on the very top line is phase 2, which is about $500 million worth of projects that are unfunded. We currently have no funding for those. And what that is intended to do is to connect all of the vulnerable properties that we've identified. Then the third phase would be the remaining 90,000 in the county, which you can see that's a $4 billion price tag and about a 30-year implementation phase once the money's identified. You can see below that the sources of funding that we're able to use. One thing I'll point out to you that the rates that our customers currently pay for water and sewer, we are not permitted to use those revenue streams to expand the system for future users. Future users have to be either paid for by themselves or by some other funding source. And that's what general obligation bonds are for, special taxing districts. And I'll show you some, and of course, grants, and I'll show you some grant funding that we have already applied for and received. So right here for Connect to Protect, you got a list of all the grants that we've applied for. We have an amazing resiliency team at the Water and Sewer Department that's led by Debbie Griner and a group of real experts. Some of them are with us here today, and they have been working feverishly for months since this infrastructure bill came out. I had the pleasure and honor to join the mayor in Washington, D.C. and meeting with the administration on how best to seek this money and how to be successful with it. We also have worked with our state partners, our state representatives, state senators, as well as the governor's administration to best position ourselves for state funding. You can see there's a list on the right that we have applied for and that has already been awarded. And then you can see those bottom 4 projects that we've applied for that have not been awarded to date that we're still hopeful we may have a shot at getting that money. So this is Check to Protect, our sister department in Miami-Dade County, Durham, as most all of you know. This is their program. Just wanted to mention it. If you are in an area that does not have access to sewer and it's not coming anytime soon, what our Durham partners want to do is encourage people to check to protect their system, make sure it's functioning properly, make sure it doesn't have damage that's unnecessarily leaking waste into the environment that can be repaired and make a difference. So please encourage everyone you know that says they're nowhere near sewer is, they think their system works fine, they don't need anything. Please ask them to look at the Durham website. Check to Protect is a very valuable tool we have in our system. So now I want to hit just a few of our big wastewater projects that we're working on and what we're doing to reduce wastewater overflows throughout the county. We're going to talk a little bit about our aging infrastructure and then some important things we're doing to prevent wastewater overflows. So what you see on this graph is how many wastewater overflows we have a year. And you can see, with the exception of a couple of anomaly years, we're trending in the right direction. Now, we believe 2020 was a really bad year for sewer overflows, and we've tied many of those to a couple of big rain events. There were a couple of large storm events that flooded big areas of the county, and there were a number of sewer overflows that drove that number. Overall, we can see that the infrastructure improvements that we're making is working. It's encouraging. And so what we want to do is accelerate those projects to even further reduce the sanitary sewer overflows. This graph that you're looking at, or this picture, is identifying the large diameter sewer force mains. The 36-inch diameter mains in this county that are 40 years or older that we determine must be replaced to reduce the likelihood of rupture that would cause large volumes of sanitary sewer overflows. So what you see on the left is the entire county. On the right, you see that one area. Where you see the yellow, those are large diameter sewer lines that are 40 to 49 years old. And what you see red is between 50 and 59. And there are a few you'll see as purple color that are more than 70 years old. What I can tell you is that we're taking a very aggressive approach. Some of these are under design now. The ones that are not currently under design, we have outside expert consultants that we're negotiating design contracts with now, and they will be under task very soon to where all of these force mains are going to get replaced. So I want to talk to you a little bit about where some of our damages are coming from and what we're doing to prevent it. One of our biggest challenges is contractors in a very busy environment in Miami-Dade County. They're building everything you can think of that's got nothing to do with water and sewer, or they're installing fiber optics or all the other needed things. They hit our sewer lines during their construction activities, boring, digging, whatever they're doing. And we are required to mark those lines anytime there's construction in the area. And we do that. We mark those lines, but in our best efforts, even though we do mark those lines regularly and as we should, contractors still hit them. So what Miami-Dade County has done is we have implemented a system. The software is called DigTix. And what it does is places a geo fence, if you will, around all of our critical assets, which in our case are the large diameter sewer lines you saw in the previous. When we see those large diameter assets where there's a location identified for construction, we send folks there. We go above and beyond to make sure contractors don't hit those lines, and it has already proven that we've got less than in the past of hits. Here you just see our budget. You see what we're working on. We have a $7.5 billion capital budget at the Water and Sewer Department. That's what our charge of duty to implement is. We've accomplished a lot already. If you look on this picture's top left picture is brand new generators, EPA Tier 4 generators. You'll see the new buildings, new methane gas captures for power cogeneration. You see elevated buildings. This is all the work we're doing now. This is just some of what we're doing. Want you to see where your rate money's going, and it is making a difference. Here's some other areas that we're seeking funding for. We're chasing grant funding for the overall project that's not the Connect to Protect. You can see what we've already been awarded. The very bottom is WIFIA loans. It's not grants, it's federal government loans that are extremely low interest. Miami-Dade County has over $1 billion worth of those now promised to us to help with that $7.5 billion program. I'm out of time. Thank you very much.